Hi everyone, this is our channel Around My Story. Please like, share and subscribe.
Hello everyone, I'm Lauren. Did you ever wonder what it would be like to have your life completely destroyed by someone close to you? Ever thought about what you would do then? I didn't have time to think, because that's exactly what happened to me. It all started 2 years ago. I lived a quiet life with my mom and dad and my sister. I loved my family. We were always together. We were happy until that fateful day. My dad got fired from his work, a big company. He had worked there for 20 years. The only money we had then was what he had managed to save over the years. Finding a new job wasn't easy. It was a hard time for all of us, especially my dad. He was becoming desperate. At times, he just sat there, quietly, deep in thought, and I rarely saw him smile since. One late night, we were still up waiting for him when he walked through the door. But something was different. He wasn't walking straight. It was the first time in my life seeing him drunk. I decided to take matters in my own hand. I started job hunting. I was lucky enough to find something suitable at a startup company. The pay was good enough, and the more I worked, the more I earned. I was trying my best to get our life back. I was giving it all I've got. My dad started asking me for money. I was more than happy to give him what he needed. I didn't even ask what it was for. Then he started asking for more. He came late almost every night, and he was never awake in the morning. It seemed like we hadn't talked together for ages. Then, money started disappearing from my purse. I got home from work one night. It had been a long day, and I was really tired. I put my bag in my room, and I went to the kitchen to find something to eat. I made myself a sandwich, then took it back to my room. But when I got to the door, I saw a shadow moving inside. I thought everyone was asleep, so I opened the door slightly and looked inside. I couldn't believe what I saw. My dad was standing over my bag, and my wallet was in his hand. He found no money in it, so he threw it on the bed and started going through my purse. At that moment, my mom came down the stairs. She had my dad's shirt in her hands and a small pack of white powder. I looked at her face. Her eyes were filled with tears. I tried to speak, but found nothing to say. My dad came out of my room. He saw us standing there. He tore the shirt and the pack from my mom's hands. He was hysterical. He started breaking things around him. Suddenly, everything changed. My mom and I were too scared to move, but then my sister came running down the stairs. He pulled her towards him and held a knife to her throat. He threatened to kill her if we didn't give him money. Without a moment's thought, I did what he asked. Things only got worse. Nothing was ever enough. He asked for more and more money, and if I refused, he'd get violent, beating up anyone in his path. I couldn't stand by and watch, so I would just give him what he wanted, until I decided enough was enough. He barged down the stairs one evening and asked for all the money I've got. I told him we had expenses to pay, the rent, school fees, but none of it mattered to him. He asked me again for the money and threatened me if I didn't do what he asked. I refused. He hit me so hard that I crashed my head against the wall and fell to the floor, bleeding. Everything went dark. My mom took me to different hospitals, and I had to do a lot of checkups and tests, but all the doctors said the same thing, that this was it. I was sentenced to live my life in darkness, never to see the light again. Bumping my head against the wall was one of the reasons, but apparently my psychological state played a huge role in my recovery. The doctors suggested that I'd be taken to a psychiatrist. My dad felt sorry for what he had done to me. He quit the drugs and alcohol, tried to be proper, but it was because of him that I was in this state. I didn't know if I could ever find it in myself to forgive him. I was torn inside. He was my dad, but I couldn't forget what had happened. I stopped talking shortly after, and he left, disappearing from our lives. No one knew where he was, or what he was. A year had passed, and he came home. He sounded good, kinda like how he was before. He's trying to make up for what he had done. But to me, nothing he does makes a difference anymore. Kinda like how he was before. He's trying to make up for what he had done. But to me, Nothing he does makes a difference anymore. I'm still in the dark. That's something I'm gonna have to live with my whole life. I can't change that. What do you think I should do?
Taking responsibility is a great thing, especially when you can see the result of your efforts in front of your eyes and when your family is so proud of you. But sometimes you are forced to hide your achievements to make your family happy. This is what I had to do. My name is Kareem. I'm 21 years old, and I would like to tell you my story. When I was 15, I lived with my mother and my little brother, Chris, in a small apartment in a neighborhood close to a hospital called Central Hospital. I was working in that hospital at this time. Chris was the most important person in my life because my father died when he was just 2 months old, causing him to become my responsibility. I had previously worked in grocery stores, clothing stores, and in an office as an office boy. Then one of my friends told me that Central Hospital had an opening for a doctor's assistant and that they would train the new hire for the job. Thus began my work as a nurse. I was a hard worker, so I became one of the top nurses in the hospital. But my dreams were bigger than this because I wanted my family to have a good standard of living. Unfortunately, my current low salary couldn't get us where I wanted us to be. One day, Gabriel, one of my colleagues at the hospital, called me. We didn't know each other well because we had only greeted each other in passing in the hallway. So we met and I sat down with him. He told me he had been watching me closely for a long time, and he knew that I desired more money than what I was making, and that this was what had prompted him to speak with me. He told me that he could help me earn a lot more money. I asked how, and he explained that some people need some stuff from the hospital, and we could help them get it. Medicine, you mean? I asked. No, he answered. He shifted his position and moved his head closer to mine and whispered in a low voice, "Some people with serious illnesses need replacement organs for organ transplant surgery. Others, who are healthier and more fortunate, are willing to sell their organs to help these poor, unfortunate people while making a profit for themselves at the same time." "Are you talking about trading human organs?" I posited. I was hesitant. Many thoughts raced through my mind. If these people died, there would always be more patients. Honesty and integrity in my work were essential to keep my job. I could get fired and even arrested for getting involved in such skullduggery. But I could make a lot of money. Much to my chagrin, my greed muted all other concerns, and I accepted his offer. Every day, Gabriel would ask me to obtain an organ. I would wait until midnight, then sneak into the morgue and steal an organ from a recently deceased patient and sell it to Gabriel for money. Our arrangement worked like a charm. I made loads of money. I moved my family into a new apartment, enrolled my brother in a better school, and saw joy and satisfaction in my family's eyes. Then one day, Gabriel asked me to get him a kidney for a patient with an urgent and serious condition. I searched the morgue but couldn't find an identical match for the patient's kidney profile. I noticed that a living patient, a man with a serious heart condition, happened to be a good kidney match for our needs, but Gabriel needed a replacement kidney in 2 days. What could I do? I told myself that this patient with the heart condition case would likely die sooner rather than later. So, why not end his suffering a little early? So I called Gabriel and told him that he would get his kidney after midnight. I entered the patient's room and gave him an empty injection, basically causing an air embolism. A few minutes later, a nurse came in and found him dead. Once they moved his body to the morgue, I removed his kidney. I had unwittingly become the angel of death. I felt no remorse for my actions, though, until I met a patient named Catherine, who had developed a serious brain tumor. Her bad fortune made Gabriel ask for a new heart for a kid, so I made up my mind to end Catherine's suffering. It was for a good cause, after all, right? That night, I entered her room quietly with a hypodermic needle in my hand. I held her hand and looked at her beautiful, innocent face. She did not deserve death, I thought to myself. Suddenly she woke up and asked me what I was doing. I told her that I was going to end her suffering, but she assured me that she most certainly did not want to die. I hesitated and thought about letting her live, But greed had firmly wrapped its icy steel fingers around my heart, and I gave her the injection with a steady hand. Just before she died, she said, "You will pay for your heinous deeds." At that moment, I heard an ambulance's siren and ran to the window to see what was going on. It seems there had been a horrible accident. A truck had crashed into a school bus. I watched the paramedics carry in the dead bodies of the students involved in the accident. Suddenly, my throat constricted and my heart skipped a beat. One of the dead students they were carrying in was my own little brother, Chris. I felt as if a knife had been driven into my heart. Why did this happen to me? I hadn't done anything wrong. I was saving people's lives and stopping the suffering of others. I didn't deserve this punishment. I screamed his name aloud several times while people around me watched me scream. Not only did my brother die that day, but my mother subsequently fell ill and went into a coma. My sins had come back to haunt and taunt me. Catherine's dying words stuck in my mind. You will pay for your heinous deeds. How I wish I could apologize to those whose lives I had taken.